Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cutting right through the noise of those recent chaotic live news broadcasts to figure out exactly what happened during that terrifying flash flood on the Trishuli River. You know, when a disaster of this scale hits, those initial reports are just frantic. They're overlapping, they're intensely emotional. So our goal here is to take those raw, on-the-ground feeds and distill them down. We want to really understand the mechanics, the timeline, and the true impact of this sudden surge of water.
We're actually going to start right at ground zero with an eyewitness account caught in the immediate aftermath. You hear this visceral cry of Ram, Ram, Ram. It's a deep cultural invocation used in times of extreme distress, and it just instantly captures the sheer panic on the ground. People were saying things like, "Looks like hundreds, thousands are dead." Now, early casualty estimates in the heat of a disaster are often skewed by that overwhelming psychological shock of seeing entire structures just completely vanish. But this raw reaction really sets the stage for the absolute fury of the event we're looking at today. It's a stark reminder of just how vulnerable these river valley communities really are.
Section 1. Ground Zero and the Sudden Fury in Rasua.
Okay, so to organize these frantic reports into clear facts, we have to look at the official emergency warnings that were broadcasting constantly during the chaos. Basically, a massive, totally unexpected wall of water crossed the border. It originated on the Tibet side and surged directly into Nepal's Rasua district, right through the channel of the Trishuli River. And this cross-border origin, that's a critical piece of the puzzle because it severely complicates the timeline for early warning systems. By the time this water actually entered the district, it was already moving at catastrophic speeds.
And what's truly devastating about these accounts is the emphasis on the absolute speed of the water. Locals were repeatedly stating across the news feeds that the victims had zero time to escape. Literally none. We aren't talking about a river slowly cresting over its banks over a couple of days. This was a sudden, violent displacement of water that just swallowed the coastal areas whole. When you're geographically positioned in a steep river valley like that, as one tragic account points out, where could they run? There is simply nowhere to go when the water arrives instantly.
Section 2. High Alerts, Mapping the Danger Zones. So this disaster triggered a rapid domino effect downstream. The water didn't just stop in Rasua, it used the river as a literal highway. High alerts were immediately issued as the danger traveled south and west from Rasua. It pushed down through Nuwakot, sliced right through Dotting, headed into the plains of Chitwan, and extended all the way to Gorkha. This gives you a real sense of the immense volume of water involved here. It carried enough kinetic energy to threaten communities dozens and dozens of miles downstream from the initial impact zone. Because of this, the absolute crucial point authorities were making, in a repetitive, almost desperate loop on the broadcasts, was this. Anyone near the riverbanks in these targeted districts had to seek higher ground immediately. They were explicitly instructed to stay in highly secure locations until further notice. The authorities knew this surge was just tearing down the valley, and the only real defense was vertical evacuation, getting as far up and away from the river's edge as physically possible.
Section 3. Suspected Causes. Dam versus glacial lake.
Now, amidst all this panic and the scramble for higher ground, there was a critical, unifying question echoing among the eyewitnesses recording the destruction. People were frantically trying to figure out the source of the deluge. If you listen to the source audio, you can actually hear voices wildly debating this. Is it dam water, or did a lake burst? In this highly mountainous, hydrologically active region, those are the two primary suspects for a sudden blue sky flood like this. It was either an artificial dam that was opened or failed entirely, or a high-altitude glacial lake suddenly burst its banks, sending millions of gallons of water rushing down the mountain.
What we saw was a distinct and terrifying gap in information during the height of the crisis. Government statements confirmed the water's Tibetan origin and issued the necessary downstream warnings, sure, but they didn't immediately specify the exact trigger mechanism. And that void allowed eyewitness speculation to just take over. That unknown variable, whether it was a structural failure or a natural glacial outburst, added a profound layer of terror for the people fleeing. Because think about it, if you don't know what broke, you have no idea if more water is coming.
Section 4. The Secondary Threat and the Hidden Danger of Receding Waters. Even as people watched the primary flood surge tear through their towns, local voices on the broadcast started highlighting a counterintuitive, lingering environmental danger that actually comes after the main event. This observation is absolutely vital to understanding river dynamics during a flood. Locals refer to this as katan, severe bank erosion. It's a stark warning that the disaster doesn't actually end when the water level peaks. In fact, for many homes perched on the edge of the river valley, the moment the water begins to drop is the moment they're in the absolute most danger.
Let's break down the hidden mechanics of the river here.
First, the massive volume of floodwater violently surges, completely saturating the earth on the riverbanks. But then, as that water rapidly recedes, it pulls all that heavy, wet, destabilized earth down with it. It acts like a giant vacuum. This severe erosion means that solid land simply collapses into the river, entirely threatening homes and infrastructure that might have actually survived the initial wave intact.
Section 5. Unresolved Tragedy and the Human Toll. We've mapped the geography and analyzed the physics, but the core of this tragedy is the impact on the people of the Trishuli River Valley. We're left with a chilling question derived directly from those live broadcasts. With homes swept away instantly and victims unable to flee, what will be the final tragic scale of the casualties? When a wall of water arrives with zero warning, sweeping away lives in a matter of seconds, the aftermath is always heartbreaking. This event is a terrifying reminder of the extreme vulnerabilities mountain communities face from unpredictable hydrologic events. It highlights exactly why developing rapid, cross-border early warning systems is absolutely vital. Because, as we saw today, a matter of minutes can literally mean the difference between life and death. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning how we can better understand and prepare for the world around us.